Hat, sunglasses, Pepsi, notes, sources, thick skin. Check. You already know. Let's go. Welcome to Gold and Blue today, everybody. This is a college football channel. So if you like college football, hit the like and subscribe button. It's that simple. Also, send gear to represent your team and be a part of my background forever. All you have to do is send it to P.O. Box 360, Liberty, South Carolina 29657. First off, shout out to all my Notre Dame fans. Do not in any way take this as a trash talking video. This particular video is not a trash talking video. I am not trash talking Notre Dame. Notre Dame has a great fan base. They're very passionate. They're very loyal. Shout out to you guys. But last night kind of really opened my eyes as far as the live show goes, as far as why Notre Dame remains independent. And the biggest reason that they keep giving that Notre Dame is still independent is because they feel special because they're independent. That doesn't really make any sense, because there's other teams that are also still independent as of right now. BYU's independent. UConn's independent. Liberty's independent. BYU and Liberty's about to join conferences, but they're independent. Does that make them special? No. Being independent isn't what makes Notre Dame special. What makes Notre Dame special is Notre Dame is the biggest brand in all of college football. Sorry, Ohio State fans. Sorry, Alabama fans. Sorry, Texas fans. Sorry, USC fans, and so on and so forth. But Notre Dame has the biggest brand. They have one of the biggest fan bases in the nation. They are one of the most recognizable brands on the entire planet. Notre Dame is number one when it comes to brand recognition. It is what it is. But the argument that what makes Notre Dame special is their independence is just starting to get ridiculous. I understand the historical value, the traditional value, all that stuff, but it is time for Notre Dame to join a conference. Is it special that Notre Dame has never won a conference championship? Because they've never been in a conference except for 2020. They did compete in the ACC championship, but lost to Clemson. Notre Dame has never won a conference championship. What's special about that? You know what is special? Alabama winning 18 national championships. And I know some of them are arguable, and people say, well, some of them they didn't really win. They're claiming national championships they didn't win. I understand all that, but still, they have 18 claimed national championships. That's special. Winning a conference championship. That's special. Still being able to play a national schedule, that's special. And even if Notre Dame does join a conference, they can still play a national schedule. I like Notre Dame to the SEC specifically, but I'll make arguments for all these conferences as far as why it would be a good idea for Notre Dame to join any of these conferences, okay? First, I want to establish the argument of Notre Dame being independent, making them special is outdated. I'm sorry, it's just outdated, because it used to be Notre Dame could claim that they have one of the best incomes because of the NBC TV deal. Now it's looking like conferences are making not only more money than Notre Dame, but way more money. So Notre Dame is actually not making as much money because they're not in a conference now. So the money thing that's not even an argument anymore. Notre Dame doesn't make anything compared to some of these teams in the SEC and the Big Ten. So the money argument, that's completely out of the window. So here we go, conference by conference, why Notre Dame should be in each of these conferences. The first conference is the Pac-12. Why should Notre Dame join the Pac-12? Well, they could be the savior of the Pac-12. They can now and forever be known as the savior of the Pac-12. They kept the Pac-12 from going into oblivion. That's special. That would make Notre Dame even more special, don't you think? Being independent or saving an entire conference. I think saving an entire conference would make them more special. And I think academically, their peers with the Pac-12, they would still have the biggest brand by far. They could be the king of the castle. And I do think that the Pac-12 would provide an easy road for Notre Dame to the playoffs compared to some of these other conferences. I think they would be able to even more establish their recruiting on the West Coast by joining the Pac-12. I know they already play USC, so they have a pretty good recruiting base in Southern Cal. But still, that would strengthen your recruiting base in the state of California. Being the king of the castle of the Pac-12, that's a title worth bragging about. That would make Notre Dame special. So there's your argument for Notre Dame going to the Pac-12. And yes, I do think Notre Dame joining the Pac-12 would increase their revenue significantly. Next up, the Big 12. Why should Notre Dame join the Big 12? Well, Notre Dame would be the biggest brand in the Big 12. They would be the king of the castle in the Big 12. Travel, as far as geographics go, this might make more sense than most of the conferences I'm about to talk about. Big 12 is pretty close to Notre Dame, and it would help with their recruiting in the Midwest, Southwest. And I do think Notre Dame would be a good fit in the Big 12. And I think Notre Dame would increase the revenue of the Big 12 tremendously. Same with the Pac-12. But as far as geography goes, Notre Dame fits better in the Big 12 over the Pac-12. But academics and all that stuff, they fit better in the Pac-12 over the Big 12. There's arguments for each of these conferences. Another cool thing about Notre Dame in the Big 12 is the Big 12 is actually filled with a lot of religious affiliated institutions. So Notre Dame would actually feel at home in the Big 12 when it comes to being a university that has a religious affiliation. A lot of people don't think about that. All right, let's go on to the Big 10. Honestly, I think it's a no-brainer that Notre Dame should join the Big 10, but they're never going to join the Big 10. And it comes down to Michigan. Notre Dame flat out hates Michigan. Michigan flat out hates Notre Dame. And this dates back 80 years. Michigan and Notre Dame used to play each other year after year after year. And Michigan used to beat Notre Dame year after year after year. Then that one year happened where Notre Dame not only beat Michigan, but they embarrassed Michigan. And Michigan said because of that, they do not want to play Notre Dame anymore. And they kept Notre Dame out of the Big 10 for the longest time. So that hatred, that rivalry, yes, it is big enough to where it would keep Notre Dame from joining the Big 10. I've heard stories where Michigan fans on their deathbed saying F Notre Dame. Notre Dame fans on their deathbed saying F Michigan. That's how big this rivalry is. That's how much these two teams hate each other. But academically, Notre Dame fits perfectly into the Big 10. Geography, there is no better match for Notre Dame than the Big 10. And they could establish their recruiting base in the upper Midwest/Northeast significantly by joining the Big 10. And oh yeah, Notre Dame would make truckloads of money. The Big 10 already makes a lot of money. But if Notre Dame joined the Big 10, their TV revenue would go through the roof. So Notre Dame would make a lot of money. But the one factor that's going to keep them out, Michigan. They will never join the Big 10 because of Michigan. And it's kind of a shame if you ask me. Alright, next up, the conference that they're kind of flirting with right now. The ACC. Why should Notre Dame join the ACC? Well, it's kind of the same reasons as the Pac-12. I think Notre Dame would be the savior of the ACC. That's special if you ask me. It would increase the TV revenue significantly. But I still don't think that they would make as much money if they were to join the Big 10. But still, they would make a lot of money. Remember, they're not making a lot of money right now. They have the NBC TV deal, which is outdated. They make a little bit from the ACC because they are a partial member of the ACC. But that's it. They need to join a conference if they want to make a lot more money and help with their recruiting. That's one thing that Notre Dame fans aren't understanding. If they join a conference and make way more money, that's actually going to help your recruiting. And I'm not saying that Notre Dame is struggling recruiting, not by any means, but this would help their recruiting even more. They would probably have a top 5 recruiting class year in and year out if they just had more money to work with that NIL. People already want to go to Notre Dame left and right. You offer them money, you're going to draw in even more recruits. Notre Dame needs to join a conference. And I think the ACC would be a good fit. Geographically, it's not that far off from Notre Dame. They're already used to playing the ACC. And I do think the ACC would provide an easier path to the playoffs, comparable to the Pac-12. So that would help Notre Dame. They would win conference titles, no doubt, in the ACC. I know they've only had one chance and they lost to Clemson. But if you were in a conference consistently, you will get to the championship consistently, and that increases your chances of winning a conference championship. So yes, Notre Dame would win buttloads of conference championships in the ACC. They would have brands to contend with like Clemson, Florida State, brands like that, but Notre Dame would still be king of the castle, head and shoulders above everybody. In fact, they do have the largest fan base out of anybody in the ACC. So there's really no debate whenever it comes to fan base size. And then finally, the SEC. I actually think that Notre Dame should join the SEC over everybody else. The first thing is their scheduling. There's 8 conference games in the SEC. You get 4 home games, you get 4 away games. So that leaves 4 games open for Notre Dame to schedule their rivals and still have a national schedule. So pick a couple of rivals, let's say Stanford and USC. You play them every year, no matter what. In those other 2 spots, you rotate in Navy, you rotate in Boston College, you rotate in Georgia Tech, you rotate in Pitt, and whoever else your rivals are. You rotate them in and out. You keep USC and Stanford, but you can rotate in and out all your other rivals. And you're playing in the SEC. You're going to make a truckload of money in the SEC. The SEC already has a great TV deal. You bring Notre Dame into the equation, and that TV deal is going to go into ridiculous categories. So Notre Dame would make buttloads of money in the SEC. Yes, the path to the playoffs would be extremely more difficult in the SEC, and you have a lot of bigger brands to contend with. But I still think Notre Dame would stand out in the SEC as far as brand recognition, just by a little bit. I know now you have to contend with Texas and Oklahoma and already Alabama, your Floridas, your Tennessees, your Georgias, and so on and so forth. But still, I think this is a great fit for Notre Dame, and you would be in a league among your peers as far as competition in football. And academically, the SEC is solid as well. So they would fit in the SEC academically as well, and you would strengthen your recruiting base in the southeastern part of the United States. Since Texas is joining the SEC, you would strengthen your recruiting base in the state of Texas, the state of Florida, Alabama, and so on and so forth. I think Notre Dame, out of all these conferences, should join the SEC over everybody else. They would make more money. They do fit in academically. Geographically, it's almost the best fit. The Big Ten is the best fit geographically, but I think the SEC would be a close number 2. So yes, I think Notre Dame should join the SEC. The question is, will Notre Dame actually choose to join a conference? I think out of necessity they will. I don't think they will want to join a conference. I think it will be reluctantly. But eventually, yes, I do think Notre Dame joins a conference. The question is, who's it going to be? So y'all let me know in the comments section. When Notre Dame does finally join a conference, which conference is it going to be? That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you on my next show.